3 weeks ago, two doctoral students at the UW-Madison had the entire country on the edge of their seats during the finale of the 25th season of CBS's award-winning reality show, The Amazing Race.
They were dubbed the Sweet Scientists. Amy DeJong and Maya Warren traveled 26,000 miles through 8 countries and 20 cities, and they won $1 million for their efforts. And today, we welcome them to Live at 5.
Amy and Maya, you are the official winners of The Amazing Race.
Here they come! You guys, congratulations! From Times Square to the line of Concept, all the way.
Thank you.
We did it. You did it! You guys are the second Madison team now to go all the way in The Amazing Race and win $1 million. How does it feel?
Like $1 million bucks. I feel honored. It's awesome.
It's crazy. It's still, so even though this was 6 months ago for us, it's still very surreal.
I believe it.
Still a bit unbelievable.
It was so exciting watching it because, you know, you got all these big, strong teams, but it's sort of mind over matter.
Yeah.
A
Definitely
lot of
brains over
professional
brawn.
athletes, and then you have these 2 grad students.
Right. Kind of trucking along, having a good time, you know, enjoying every second of the race.
And you never really got on each other. When, you know, something had gone wrong, you just sort of figured it out and went from there.
Yep. We went into the race knowing that if we were to kind of attack each other, get mad at each other for mistakes or for just getting on each other's nerves, because you're with each other 24 hours a day. So we knew that that wasn't going to help us. So we decided if there's ever an issue, just sort of kind of don't let it get to you and keep it moving, because we know that it's not, like, if we ever were mean to each other, we know it wasn't like intentionally. It's just the race. Like,
Well,
you're
that
so
wasn't going to
intense.
help us move forward as a team.
Right.
So there's no reason to waste time and energy arguing.
What
We
I-
watch countless episodes and we're like, who has time for that? Enjoy it.
Argue when you're like sleep in the hotel room, but do not argue like on camera. Like we knew like what we needed to do to make us a stronger team, and whether or not we could get past the other teams, that was like to be told, but we knew what we had to do to make sure that we would move forward.
And yet, in the beginning of the race, you two were really underestimated. In fact, a lot of people were calling you the Candy Girls, as if the Candy Girls could not go the distance.
I know.
And yet, in the finale, Amy, when you had to memorize all of those containers and put them in order, I turned to my son and I said, "We got this."
Yep.
Because that's where really brains.
Yep, brains over
Are the
brawn.
most
Well, it's
important
that
thing.
too, but also staying calm under pressure. I mean, we got to that challenge. We knew it was the last one, and we read it that I had to do it. And so obviously there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of nerves. I knew that if I could finish that first, we would win $1 million. But I tried not to let that get to me. I tried to just focus, okay, this is what I have to do right now. Focus on
keep
what's
moving.
coming later. But right now I just have to focus on finding these containers and memorizing the numbers.
But did you intentionally fly under the radar, or is that just sort of the way the show shook out?
You know, we went into the race kind of saying, you know what, let's sort of kind of be underestimated, because we didn't want to come off as a strong team, because we didn't want to get U-turned. And so it actually kind of ended up working out in a different way. We didn't think that we were going to be underestimated intellectually like we were, but it actually worked to our benefit and sort of like to the other team's demise. Like, it actually helped us, because if you look at it, they called us Candy Girls. They called us, you know, oh, they just play with ice cream and candy. They never looked at us as PhD students. They never actually looked at us as being intellectually
I don't think they
gifted.
mentioned PhD.
No, I don't
They
know.
probably never even talked about it. So,
You showed
you know,
them.
it was to our benefit that they sort of saw us as sort of, you know, under the radar, except for Adam and Bethany. Adam and Bethany started kind of picking up on the fact, you know what, these girls are smart. Like, we better watch out for them.
There's a
because
clip of them
there's more to
saying,
them.
so the final 4 teams are like, well, who would you prefer to go home now, and who do you want to be competing with in the end? And they wanted to compete against the wrestlers over us because they considered us a stronger team. They
Right.
thought that when it came down to it, if there was a mental challenge.
Right. Or even, I guess, directions, because they couldn't even get through Los Angeles correctly.
Yeah.
So.
We have a lot more questions, including some from viewers, and we're going to get to those right after this break.
Awesome.
Welcome Welcome back, everybody. We're talking to Maya Warren and Amy DeJong, the winners of the 25th season of The Amazing Race. We got a lot of questions from viewers, so and we really appreciate that because it's a great opportunity.
Awesome.
The entire city was following you the entire race. It was so exciting.
Kathleen also wanted to know where and when do you eat and sleep?
So we actually eat and sleep a lot on airplanes or ferries.
Pretty much everywhere that you can.
But when we're not racing and when you finish a race, when you finish a leg of the race and you have the pit stop, you actually sleep in like a hotel that night. Or you also see us sleeping like on the Shetland Islands, St. Indian
Camped one
Island,
night. We
camp
slept on the
Malta.
concrete in Malta.
But we do eat and we do sleep.
Well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And this whole thing happens in about
About
3 and a
three
half
weeks. Yep.
So it's every day.
Pretty much every day you're racing, but sometimes when you're not racing, you're traveling for the next leg of the race.
Yeah, like we had 13-hour ferries back and
Yeah.
forth from the Shetland Islands.
And like
so
an
that's a lot of-
8-hour train ride on
Yeah,
top of that.
yeah.
So
It wasn't a Friday to Friday. I mean, it's every day.
It's every day. We sometimes get a couple of like pit stops, longer pit stops, and maybe like 36 hours where we can rest. And you can kind of see when you get longer pit stops because we also
People wake up
we look a lot better. The hair's
Showered.
done. You have a little bit better makeup on.
Least favorite challenge?
Mine was either, well, there were three that were kind of, the punting was really difficult. That took us probably the longest of any of the challenges we did. And then also the goat task in Malta where we had to skin the goats and deliver them. That was really challenging just because that market was insane. But then also another obvious choice is in the Philippines with the carrying of all of the
Yeah, you
coconuts.
struggled
That was
with
that was a tough day. Plus, I mean, when you think we've already been traveling for 3 weeks, so that's when really
long.
the exhaustion of the race starts to catch up with you.
How about you, Maya?
You
What
know,
was your least
actually-
favorite and which was the most memorable for both of you?
Least favorite was definitely the punting because that's the time that we weren't on the same page, even in the same book, speaking the same language. I mean, we were totally off. We were yelling at each other nonstop. They don't show that, but we were. We were like literally.
Yeah, I think every
nutcases.
single team was just like, it
So-
was a tough challenge.
It was
Everybody
the worst
arguing
challenge
during
for
it.
us. And most memorable, you know, I actually can't pick one. I literally loved everything about The Amazing Race. And
What an experience.
experience of a lifetime.
This is a great question from Carol McClellan. How hard was it to not tell your friends and family that you won?
And us when we interviewed you last September.
I really struggled with it. I think Maya kept it a little bit more together than I did. I mean, we didn't tell anybody, but towards the end, as the episodes kept going on, it was getting harder and harder for me to keep quiet. I think I was starting to go a little bit crazy. But
There's like a huge fine or penalty if you told anybody.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
like $10 million that we don't
it was
have.
fun for everybody to be able to watch it with us and experience each leg with us. And
So
be like,
what-
will they make it through? What's next? So
So what is next? What now?
What do you do with the money?
So invest it, you know, definitely invest the money. But I actually want to do a show on frozen desserts around the world. So I research ice cream. I'm getting my PhD in food science. I do ice cream, candy. And I actually want to combine that with what I like about television and do a show of my own. So
And
we'll see.
You got to finish up school.
yeah, I have quite a bit of time left finishing my PhD, so at least 3 years more. So I'll probably save most of the money until I'm done with school and then figure out exactly what I want to do.
Congratulations.
It was
You made Madison
a
proud.
great season. You really, really did. Congratulations, guys. Thanks so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.